Imagine a country with no president, no White House, no presidential motorcade, no Air Force One, no tradition of peaceful presidential elections. Just a collection of young states trying to figure out how to survive on their own. This was America in the years after the Revolutionary War. And then, one man was asked to lead them. His name was George Washington. But Washington's greatest achievement wasn't simply becoming America's first president. It was something much more difficult. He had to show a new nation what a president was supposed to be. George Washington was born in 1732 in Virginia. He grew up in colonial America, long before the United States existed. As a young man, Washington became a surveyor and later a military officer. His early military career was shaped by conflict between Britain and France in North America. But nobody could have predicted that this young Virginian would one day become the leader of a revolution.
I do solemnly swear.
And then, the first president of an entirely new country. By the 1770s, tensions between Britain's American colonies and the British government had reached a breaking point. The colonists objected to taxation, political control, and what they saw as violations of their rights. Then, in 1775, fighting began. The American Revolution had started. The Continental Congress needed someone to command the new Continental Army. They chose George Washington. Washington was tall, experienced, respected, and perhaps, most importantly, he came from Virginia. His appointment helped unite the northern and southern colonies behind the revolutionary cause. But leading an army against Britain was an enormous challenge. The British Empire possessed one of the most powerful militaries in the world.
Our cause is just.
Washington's army often lacked food, clothing, ammunition, and adequate training. There were defeats. There were desertions. There were moments when the revolution seemed close to collapse. But Washington kept his army together. Then came the winter of 1777. His troops endured brutal conditions at Valley Forge. They were cold, they were hungry, and many were sick. But they survived. The army emerged stronger, and eventually, with crucial French military and financial support, the Americans gained the advantage. In 1781, British forces under General Cornwallis surrendered at Yorktown.
Our cause is just.
The American Revolution was effectively won. And this is where the story of George Washington becomes truly extraordinary. After the war, Washington was incredibly powerful. He had commanded the army. His soldiers admired him. The new nation admired him. Some people even wondered whether he might become something like a king. But Washington chose a different path. In 1783, he resigned his military command and returned to private life at Mount Vernon. Think about that. A victorious military commander, voluntarily giving up his power. That decision would become one of the most important presidents in American history. Washington was showing the world that military victory did not have to lead to dictatorship, but America's problems were far from over. The new nation was struggling under its first national government, created by the Articles of Confederation. The central government was weak. The states often acted independently. The country had financial problems, and there was growing concern that the United States might not survive. So in 1787, American leaders gathered in Philadelphia.
I agree with your point.
They had originally planned to improve the existing system. Instead, they created something completely new. The United States Constitution. The Constitution created three branches of government. The legislative branch would make the laws, the judicial branch would interpret them, and the executive branch would enforce them. At the head of the executive branch would be a president. But the founders had a problem. They wanted a strong leader without creating another king. So they placed limits on presidential power. The president would serve a fixed term. Congress would make laws. Courts would interpret the Constitution, and the president would be accountable to the system created by the Constitution. America was attempting something the world had rarely seen. A government led by an elected president rather than a monarch. In 1789, America's first presidential election took place, and there was little suspense about who would win. George Washington was unanimously chosen by the Electoral College. He became the only president in American history to receive a unanimous electoral vote.
I do solemnly swear.
Washington left Mount Vernon
So help me
and
God.
traveled toward New York City, the nation's temporary capital. Along the way, crowds gathered to celebrate him. America's first president was coming. On April 30th, 1789, George Washington stood at Federal Hall in New York City. A crowd gathered below. Washington raised his right hand, and he took the presidential oath of office.
I do solemnly
United.
swear. So help me God.